Welcome to Improv for the podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Improviser's Holiday Gift Guide. Let's hit it. Welcome to Improv for the podcast. I'm your host, Michael Lee Evans, and on today, I'm joined by a very special guest. The holidays. That's right. We are in the midst of, or about to be in the holidays, right? I believe Hanukkah is going on right now. Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. We've got a few other holidays coming up later this year, and you might be sitting there thinking, you're like, gee, maybe you're an improviser, or you happen to know an improviser, which if you do, I'm so sorry. Maybe you're listening to this, and I'm an improviser, so for that, I'm sorry. But you might be wondering, for the improviser in your life, gee, what might this person want as a gift for the holidays, or maybe even their birthday? You know, this doesn't have to just be for this time of year. It could be for a birthday, an anniversary, a celebration, really anything. But I consider this the quintessential improviser's gift guide. Just a few things that I think would be greatly appreciated by an improviser, you know, someone who studies improv, whether you're at IFTP or another improv studio or studying on your own. I think these gifts could be applicable. So we're just going to walk through a list, and I'm just going to share some different items or experiences that I think could be incredibly enjoyable or helpful to you if you're an improviser, or that someone you know might enjoy if they're into improv. Before we jump into talking about these different things, I do want to preface this by saying all of these things I'm going to list, I don't make money on them if you buy them or not. They're not sponsors. Some of these things may be related to IFTP, but the sales of those items does not affect anything on my part. I do not get paid more if I sell a mug or a t-shirt or things like that. So just in full transparency, I'm recommending these things because I genuinely believe in or support them, not for any other reason. All right. So with that said, let's get to shopping for that improviser. Here we go. So we're going to be looking at 10 different things that I think would make fantastic gifts for any improviser. So to start, this is a classic. This is the book of all books. It's Truth and Comedy. Yep, that's right. I know. Truth and Comedy. You've probably heard of it. You're like, oh boy, Michael, really? You're bringing up Truth and Comedy? Well, heck yeah, I am. So Truth and Comedy is like, it's the book you start with. We've talked about it in other podcasts before, but if you're like, hey, kind of what is this improv thing? How do I learn more about it? This is a great place to start. This book was written by Sharna Halpern and Del Close, who are both influential in the early improv scene in Chicago, really kind of helping modernize the art into what it is today. So this is the book that, like, this is where you start. If you want to learn about improv, you want to learn the basics, this is where you go. Sharna and Del, they're going to break it down for you. They're going to talk about yes-anding and these different basic principles within a scene. They're also going to introduce you to the Herald a little bit, long-form improv. But it's a really great place to learn some of the basic tenets and universal language that we all know or talk about around improv. It's a great book to introduce people to improv as well. If you're like, hey, I don't know too much about improv. I want to learn more about it. You know, maybe if someone's hesitant to get into taking a class or things like that, introducing them to this book or introducing yourself, I think is a great way to do it. It is the place to begin. That's how I would describe it. Place to begin of like kind of seeing how improv moved from where it was to modern improv that we know, study, watch, and love now. It's the gold standard. It's the gold standard. It's where you begin. Truth in Comedy. I know you're like, oh gosh, Michael, is this going to be all books? No, it's not. There are some books in this list, but it is not all books. Because you know what? I'm not a silly goose, so it's not all books. So let's move on to our second item on this list. So the first one, Truth and Comedy. And if you're curious as to where you can find these items, I'll link them down below. I will be using Amazon links, but as always, I encourage you to shop local if you have the opportunity, especially for books. There's a lot of great local bookstores out there, I'm sure, wherever you're located. So with that said, Truth and Comedy, let's move on to our second item, which is going to be another fantastic book called Improvised by Mick Napier. That's another one we've talked about a number of times with different guests. Recently, Mo Cordray came on and she talked about her work at Mick Napier's studio that she did. I believe it's called the Annoyance Theater in Chicago. And that I believe she's met Mick Napier, or at least been in the same room, which is pretty cool. So anyway, let's talk about this book, Improvise by Mick Napier. So you buy this book if you've already read Truth and Comedy and you're ready to get deeper into improv. You're like, look, I know the basics. I know about yes-anding and how to build a scene, who, what, where, all that good stuff. I want to really get meaty with my scene work. Improvise by Mick Napier is the book for you. I mean, to preface it, the foreword of this book is written by Stephen Colbert, who, as you may or may not know, came up through the Chicago improv scene before he became a television personality, right? This is the place you want to go. A lot of famous actors you might know, like Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, they worked with Mick Napier as well. So he is the guy to advance your technique, right? Tell you about, like, once you know the rules, Mick Napier helps you question those rules and realize maybe they're more like guidelines, and also emphasizing the idea that you got to take care of yourself in a scene too, right? If you're not good in the scene, how are you going to be a good scene partner? And so many other skills, balancing large cast scenes, how to audition with improv, solo exercises. We love solo exercises. We had a whole episode on that. Mick Napier's your guy. All right, so that's the second item on our list. We're going to go ahead and keep moving. This next one, it's not a book. I know you're shocked. I can see your faces right now. It's not a book. This third item is improv classes. You know, maybe that's a gift for yourself or for someone you know. Maybe they're looking to dip their toes into improv. Maybe they've been a student for a long time, but, that could be a really nice gift, whether it's paying for a month of classes or an 8-week course at a studio, or maybe it's just paying for a drop-in class for them to go. It's a great way to introduce people to improv or to help them continue on their journey. A lot of studios might offer a gift card that you can purchase for classes there, or you can just say, hey, I want to pay your registration for this month of classes, as a holiday gift to you. And I think folks would really appreciate that, just because it shows that you have an interest and you support their passion and what they're doing, right? Okay, moving on to our next category. This is a good one. What if, hear me out, what if you said, hey, my friend, my sibling, my partner, whoever, they're really into improv. I want to go see a show with them. So you buy tickets to go see an improv show with that person. I mean, maybe you buy the tickets for them, or you buy the tickets so the two of you can go together. That's a wonderful thing to do. If you're here in Los Angeles, we have a bevy, an overwhelming amount of improv comedy available to you at a moment's notice. Of course, I would always recommend coming to see a show here at IFTP, as we have an amazing slate of shows happening monthly, fairly frequently. So I'd come and check those out first and foremost, because we do some great work at IFTP. But if you're interested in exploring other things as well, there's a number of other studios and venues here around LA where you can find some incredible improv as well. So buy some tickets to a show, make it a thing, make it a night. Make it a night out, whether it's a date, whether it's just a fun romp through town. You're not going to be disappointed going to see improv comedy, because worst case scenario, even if it's bad, you'll be able to laugh about it. And luckily for improv shows, tickets are usually pretty cheap. It's not like it's cheaper than seeing a movie, I think, oftentimes. Like, movie tickets can, they get up there now with the popcorn and the sour Skittles and all the accessories you have to buy. Improv, it's simple, cheap tickets, great show. You won't regret it. All right, moving on to our next item on the list. This is number 5. Now, this one you're going to be like, oh, whoa, why are you talking about that? And I think of it like this. This is a good suggestion for maybe you do improv and you're hoping to give someone a better explanation of what improv is. Maybe you're just like an improv head and you love studying it, learning about it, watching it. It's a copy of the movie Don't Think Twice, which originally came out in 2016, and it's kind of, I'd say maybe like a dramedy about a group of improvisers in New York City, like an improv troupe, and kind of some of the opportunities that happened to them and the life circumstances that happened around them. It's a group of adults in New York. They're improvisers. It's got an incredible cast. It was written and directed by stand-up comedian Mike Birbiglia, if you know him. Then I'll just break down some of the cast members. Jillian Jacobs, Mike Birbiglia, of course, Keegan-Michael Key, Chris Gethard, Kate Miucci, and a bunch of other folks are in it. It's one of the few movies where you're like watching and you're like, yeah, they're doing improv. Like, I know these games. They're getting suggestions from the audience, but it's also very real and very grounded, because you see these moments where they're dealing with circumstances of life outside of the work that they do in improv. So it's incredibly relatable as well. And, maybe at one point or another you've had that dream of like doing improv and it leading to something else. This movie shows the highs and lows of that as well. So I highly recommend it. Maybe if you're still into physical media, right, you can go pick up the Blu-ray or the DVD, or you can purchase it for someone digitally, or, just check it out online. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but it's a really interesting movie. It is rated R, so maybe not a movie for the whole family, but still a really great movie. Some great acting performances, and it's like improv movie, It's cool to see. You're like, hey, I recognize that. They do little things like, I got your back, and all these small moments where you can really relate to it and be like, oh, I've learned that in class, or oh, I've been there, I've done a scene like that. I felt this way. So I really enjoy it. Don't Think Twice on Blu-ray. So that's number 5 on our list. All right, moving on to number 6. We got another book. Heck yeah, we do. We got another book. So this book, recommended by none other than IFTP's own Liam Clancy, and one that I still need to read myself. But this book is called Improv Wisdom, and it's written by Patricia Ryan Matson. And essentially, the idea of this book is kind of taking some lessons learned from improv and learning how to apply them to real life challenges, which is something that I'm very big into. I mean, I've had the philosophy, and I mentioned it on the podcast before, improv lessons are life lessons. And the fact that there's a whole book about that, and I haven't even read it, maybe I gotta buy this for myself for the holidays, because this sounds like a book tailor-made for me. But again, just a lot that you can learn. I mean, the reviews for this book, everybody's like, oh my gosh, go read this now. If you haven't read this yet, are you even really an improviser? That's what people are saying. But again, I highly recommend you read it, or you buy it for someone who's interested in it. Really great book. Even for someone who's not like deep into improv, this could be a really great book too. Maybe they just enjoy watching shows. You'd be like, hey, check out this book. This kind of makes improv more relatable to everyday life, which I think is always really great. So Improv Wisdom, check it out. Let's continue on our list to number 7 is another book. It's the last book that we're going to be talking about, I think. This one is a favorite of mine, Improv Nation, How We Made Great American Art. And I've talked about this book on the podcast before, but again, this book is the history textbook of improv in the United States of America, going to its origins in the 30s and onward. You gotta read this. Like I said, if you're an improv head, this is the book for you. Understanding its growth, its evolution through the years, from its early roots in childhood education to helping immigrant children kind of adapt and learn American culture, to the art it is now, the performance art, right? The cultural phenomenon that it was, coming out of the 90s and into modern day. This is the book where you learn about the iconic figures of improv. You see its growth and how it went from small, dingy, dirty clubs to beautiful stages and TV shows today. And, learning about things like SNL and all the other projects in modern media that spawned out of improv. Just fascinating. And there's so many great excerpts in this book that show you kind of some of the different folks that played a hand in improv's rise and evolution. Amazing stuff. So that's Improv Nation, a fantastic book. All right, next on our list, we have item number 8. And this one you're going to go, whoa, this is a book, but technically it's not. Well, it's an unwritten book. It's a notebook for notes. And you might be thinking, wow, Michael, really? A notebook for notes? But give me a chance to explain. So as we've talked about in some past solo episodes that I've done, there are a lot of improv exercises that you can do individually on your own if you want to practice, or to help with writing if you're looking to use improv as a tool to help you write something like a screenplay, a sketch, short film, anything like that. This is the way to do it. Just get yourself a notebook that's strictly dedicated to improv and writing and comedy. And you can use that to kind of funnel your ideas into, maybe you do a scene that you really liked and you want to write down the basic beats of that scene, or a line from that scene that was funny, or a character from that scene, right? Keep your improv ideas in this notebook, right? Maybe you want to reflect on the last class you had. You come home and you're like, I was thinking in the car. Write down your thoughts, dump them on the page. Be like, hey, I really did this well tonight. Oh, but I really want to work on this next time I'm in class, in a 2-person scene, in a group scene, or this exercise was really tough for me. What can I do to set myself up for success in this exercise next time. A notebook is a tool for reflection. It's like your improv journal. So that's how I think of it. It's definitely can be a great practice if writing and reflecting is something that you enjoy. It's a great thing to do related around improv in your work. Even if it's after a show, write down how you feel. Do you think the show went well? Did it go poorly? Was there a moment you were proud of? Was there a moment you're like, this was good, but I think it could be even better if I do this. And next time I'm in this situation, I'll make this move. Right? An improv notebook can be a powerful tool to help with your growth and your development in your craft. All right, moving on to the next item. This one is a bit of a plug, but it's an IFTP t-shirt. I mean, come on, right? If you're a part of our studio, Improv for the People, or if you're a fan of our studio, next time you're around and you see the wonderful, incredible Matthew Moore, go ahead and ask him. Be like, hey, Matt, I'm interested in buying an IFTP t-shirt. I believe he has them on sale. There's some great looks. They're gray with our purple logo on it in that beautiful font. Go check them out. Go talk to Matthew Moore and get one of those IFTP t-shirts so you can rep your studio and walk around. I will say, if you search up like Improv shirt on Amazon, it's really rough. Like, we need to shut those stores down. They should not be selling some of these shirts that are like, yes, and it's really cringy. But the IFTP shirts, no cringe, all class. So go ahead and check them out. The final gift recommendation I have is a bit outside the box, but I think it's one that could be really helpful for folks who are into improv, who are looking to maybe kind of expand their improv into other fields. And it's actually a card game called the Storymatic, which comes in a bunch of different forms, but this is just the classic version. And essentially what it is, it's like a deck of cards that can come with prompts and different pieces of information to kind of help you start writing or creating something. And you can use these to play different improvisational games. If you're trying to write a story, a sketch, a screenplay, a pilot episode, whatever that thing is you're trying to write, you can use this deck of cards to kind of help you, right? Get these prompts of locations, characters, feelings, emotions, settings, all these different things, just to kind of help get your brain going. I mean, if you're doing improv, just playing around, you can use these cards as well for inspiration or initiation of a scene. So it's a fun pack to have, right? No matter what you're doing, speaking, inspiration, brainstorming, or if you just struggle with writer's blocks, right? These cards can help you get the ball rolling, and they're a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. I mean, they say for ages 12 and up, right? So I think most of us listening are probably over the age of 12. So this is an item that would be great for you. So go check them out. The Storymatic Classic. With that said, I know I mentioned 10 different things in this list. Those items were Truth and Comedy, Improvised by Mick Napier, a month of IFTP classes, tickets to an improv show, Don't Think Twice on Blu-ray, Improv Wisdom, the book, Improv Nation, the book, an Improv notebook, an IFTP t-shirt, and the Storymatic Classic card game. These are just a few items that I hand-selected myself that I know would interest me as an improviser, or I would recommend to anyone who's into improv or looking to get into improv. There are so many other things out there, and I imagine so many of you are incredibly creative and can come up with some different and even better ideas. But this is just a place to start. It's a great reference point, and even if you don't utilize this list this upcoming holiday season, maybe you'll save it in the future for a birthday or a special gift for a partner, friend, sibling, whoever. At the end of the day, oftentimes, I think I know improvisers, they just want to learn more about their craft and consume it, eat it up. And these are some great gifts that will help them do that. So, as always, with the holidays coming up, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Check out some of these gifts. Heck, maybe even buy them for yourself if something interests you. Let me know in the comments or when I see you in person if you checked out any of these items. I think they're all really great and can all really benefit anyone who purchases them or reads these books or goes to see an improv show. But thanks as always for listening to this episode of Improv for the Podcast. We'll be back next week with another interview of another excellent IFTP member. As always, we're streaming on every platform, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for listening, but until then, we'll see you next time. Improv for the Podcast was created by Matt Moore and Michael Lee Evans, edited and produced by Michael Lee Evans, and finally presented by Improv for the People. Interested in more IFTP? You can visit us at improvforthepeople.com or on our socials, such as Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Remember, new episodes are released weekly. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.